Have you noticed how many people out there are healing and likely struggling with life?
Whether or not people are actually talking about it, a lot of people are, and you might even be one of them.
If you're living the medical medium lifestyle, you may be doing the foods, the tools, the supplements, and still feel overwhelmed by the life part: relationships, motherhood, identity changes, nervous system, purpose, and the quiet fear of, is it just me?
You're not crazy, you're not weak, and you're not alone.
I'm Eileen. I'm an older mom, a writer, former architect, and medical medium information helped me save my life, and my family and I have been living this way since 2012.
And I'm Amy. I'm an autism mum, a home educator, formerly worked in advertising, a near-death experiencer. We've lived medical medium since 2015.
Medical medium gives life-saving information.
And here we support the life part so you can stay with it, trust yourself again, and come home to who you truly are.
Welcome to the Rewild Renew, soulful discussions of life and truth.
Why wait until you're in crisis? The people who get the most from soul work are the ones who come to it before the storm hits and leave with the foundation to weather whatever comes next. This is an observation that we've made, and it's something that we want to talk about today because we are often mostly motivated by crisis. Wouldn't you say, Eileen?
Yeah, it's actually a really important perspective, I think, that comes from us as practitioners that we want to share with you because a lot of times people don't even know what to ask us. You know, they don't know what they don't know. And I think it's important that we share our perspective, and because we've gotten to work with so many people. And I'll tell you, Amy and I talk about this a lot. We would love to share the stories of us working with people, but they're not our stories to share. And we really respect people's privacies. So sometimes we're like, how do we get this across to people without, outing somebody's story that's not ours to out? Because it's very private information, and we would want you to know that we would never do that to you either. But we really want to talk today about the importance of doing this kind of what we call soul work, what it really is and why it's really important. And I think your statement there really speaks loudly, because a lot of times people wait till they're in crisis. And it's not that we can't help somebody in crisis, but we've watched people completely transform their lives, transform their lives. And those aren't the people who necessarily came to us in crisis, because in crisis, that's a different game. And finding support, the right support in crisis is important. But if you're looking for life transformation, this soul work is really about building that foundation underneath you so that no matter what comes along, you're handling it and you're moving through it. You're pulling the soul's gold from it. It's a different process.
Yeah, and we want to talk a little bit about what soul work looks like
Yeah.
because it's a concept, isn't it? Soul work is a concept until your life there's a problem, and then there's context.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't go, oh, I'm having a really big issue in my relationship. Oh, and I just really don't know what to do with my life or what the meaning of life is. And we're not going, oh, I've got this really big soul problem. We're just saying what it literally is. We're talking context.
Mm-hmm.
And this is soul work. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Sometimes I work with these, well, for a period of years, I've supported some psychotherapists, and I work with them to sort of deepen their understanding of soul healing and help them with their own soul healing, because they are the supporters of many. And so there are these three professionals doing really amazing big things in their fields. And I did this little thing with them on Saturday when we met. And we did this little 10-minute exercise. And one of the psychotherapists, she sat up, wiped the tears away, gave the realization that she'd came to, and said, that's the equivalent to a year in therapy. Mm-hmm. And these are her words, not mine. And she goes, that's the difference with the soul level.
Yep.
So we can there's so much that we stand to gain when we do the soul piece. And also, just want to point out, it's kind of our responsibility to be doing the soul piece. This was something I was talking to these psychotherapists about. It's a big concept. I'm going to go for it anyway. I know we're early in, but I'm just going to jump in.
Please do.
You know, it's our responsibility to work on the soul, because the soul goes beyond the life. Okay, newsflash. We all know that the soul goes beyond the life. But what happens to your soul after the physical body's all said and done here depends on what you did with your soul while you're here.
Let's just stop and take a breath before you go on.
I know.
That's a big statement, which I 100% agree with. But I think sometimes people need a beat with that one. Because that actually understanding is changed my whole life, which is, I'm just going to say it again, our soul is eternal. I know some people don't believe that, but that's where Amy and I are. And so the end game is not this life, but what you do in this life affects what happens to your soul next. Right? It's a little bit of a flip. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Yeah, do you know, because the psychotherapists that I work with, they look at me and they just go like, wow. We were doing our...
Because that's not a part of psychotherapy training at all, that understanding.
Well, they do transpersonal psychotherapy. So it's actually really amazing. They have a language that is really non-dogmatic for very similar concepts. It kind of takes any sense of religion out of it. It's very amazing, the overlaps. But I get there and they're like, oh, we've got some cacao. We're going to do a cacao ceremony. Would you like some? I'm like, no, thanks. I don't do caffeine. I say, and I just make a joke. I say, I know, I'm a lot, but you know, this is what I do. And so when we're then having this conversation, I'm like, this is why I'm always like, because they're like, would you like this? I'm always like, oh no, thanks. I've got my water. I've got a banana in my bag. You know, like I'm always like, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is what I said. I'm always ready. I can't keep my soul.
Right.
It's always ready. I'm ready for that. I said, because I've walked through a door, I can't go back through anymore.
Yes.
And I was like, so I can't do that anymore. And they were like, and they look at me and they're just like, and the way they talk about me, they're like, as if I'm some kind of, where we get on so well and we have a laugh and we cry together and laugh together and we do all this work and it's amazing. But, you know, I'm over here, like they're like, they think that I'm some sort of different being because of the way I walk this world, you know. But it's because it's a soul thing. It's a soul thing. It's no longer for the sake of the body. Yeah, I mean, I need to keep those symptoms away because otherwise I can't do my thing. But it's about the pure soul.
Yeah, I had a family member I spoke to this past week who said, oh, they hadn't had a drink in a month or something because of some surgery they had, and I don't actually think about it. And I said, oh, yeah, I haven't had a drink in 14 or 15 years. I don't even really know. And they were all like, whoa. And it's like, it's not even part of my consciousness on a daily basis. And I'm not belittling people who have a real problem with alcohol. It just wasn't my thing. Anyway, but yeah, I get that. And like, my everyday seems strange to people, but it's because of my soul. The reason I don't drink is because of my soul, not because of any other reason.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you another story.
Did I interrupt your first story though? Because I wanted to hear about it. You were talking.
I don't think so. I think
okay.
I got it.
All right.
I'm giving you enough probably. But this is another thing. I had a lot of life happen last week. There was a lot, you know, like in England we say, you know, it's like buses. They all turn up at once. You can wait for like an hour and a half and not a single bus will come by.
Yes.
And then 3 will come by.
Yes.
So, you know, it's like buses. So we had a lot of life happen, a lot of fun stuff happening. Which kind of made me nervous because I was like, oh my God, we've got to do all these things. But on Wednesday night of last week, I went out with some university friends I hadn't seen in years. We were trying to work out how long it'd been, but it was like, it was definitely pre-lockdown because, you know, there's always like pre and post lockdown now. That's how we measure time.
Right.
It was definitely a while before lockdown. And then after lockdown, we had a really serious health issue, which I've spoken about autistic kids, mental health issues due to exposures that were very, very, very severe. And as I put on my Instagram post today, like I was saying to my friends, you have 1,000 problems, and then you have a health problem. You got one problem, because I was only focused on solving that one problem, and we solved it, and we're stronger for it, and we're moving forwards, and we're bringing back in these life things, like seeing my university friends again. But it was so good. It was so good. We are so different. We are three women who are so different. One of my friends, when we were in our 20s, she used to go to Ireland a lot. I went with her a few times. She would drink an Irishman under the table. Like, she can put it away.
I used to be able to do that.
Oh my God. I was a cheap date. I was never that. I was always the first one to get tipsy. But she was drinking wine after wine after wine, and I was on the fizzy water, the sparkling water. And they got some like bar snacks, and I got some asparagus snacks. You know, it was just we were doing our own thing, but I hadn't felt so much like me as that moment. And so I say that because I wanted to talk about that, because for a number of reasons. But
that's the product of the soul work.
That's the product of the soul work. And I just wanted to also tackle this as well, because some people are like, being around alcohol invites demons, invites, that spirit realm in not a good way. So I wanted to address that also, because I felt so much like me. Good luck trying to get in the cracks, because there is no access point.
Yes.
There is no way. I'm having the time of my life, and you'll have to queue up at the door because you're not coming in. And there's that element to it. And
that is the empowerment piece, and that is why, as we started, like, don't wait till the crisis. Because the soul work is what makes you really empowered and strong. And like you just said, it makes you walk through life like, good luck coming at me, Derms, right? I'm not allowing that. And that walking through life with that sort of inner confidence, that inner agency, changes your life. Doesn't mean bad shit doesn't happen, but it changes everything. And it's that inner agency that the soul work will give you.
Yeah, so, I was able to sort of go to my friends and just say, like, I had to sort my daughter out, and then I had to sort myself out, because I didn't know how to let go. I didn't know how to relax. I was so hyper-focused on solving this problem. We went through hell. I had my own PTSD. I had to sort through all of that. And I tried to meet them, some months ago, like maybe a year or so ago. And I didn't make it. I couldn't get myself together. I was like, but now I'm back in business. Let's do this again soon, because I'm here to stay. And, but I had to give myself that time. And what screams at me is that shows some real soul healing. That's a progression, because I'm able to meet life at that point. And there's no shame in the fact that sometimes we're not able to meet. I wasn't able to meet life at that point a year ago. This is I had to do the healing. I had to get myself some steady ground to stand up upon, and then to be able to go out there and have like the most fantastic night out. So, this is what soul healing looks like. Because as Eileen says, it's hard to take people's personal stories and talk about them. But I'm very happy to talk about mine. Right. Very happy to use myself as an example, as Eileen would tell you stories about her. This is where we want to get to, because when we're working with people, we see so much fear, so much that's holding a person back, and we are wanting to sort of get to that place where we can feel really. I am not saying I've got there, I'm over here, I've done it, well done, Amy, I'm amazing. I am not saying that, okay? Watch me like trip and fall at some point, that's just life. But I'm saying the absence of fear is a place we want to get to. And I had some fear going into that. I was like, oh, can I leave the kids? Because the next day we were going to Legoland, and the day after that my daughter had a major exam, and the day after that I was running a workshop, and me and my daughter were going out in the evening, and that's all I could think about. It was like everything felt like one more thing to do. It's just another thing I've got to do, and another thing I've got to do, rather than relaxing and dropping into life and really experiencing life. Because when you've been in bracing for impact for so long, like you've got that muscle memory and that you need to shift and change. And this is all soulful work. So, you know, there's a lot of fear that fear is indicates a soul issue.
Yeah.
Because this is medical medium information. Fear sits between the brain and the soul.
So my example of that is from many years ago, when all of this stuff started to come up for me, and I started realizing just how sensitive I am and how empathic I am, and all that kind of good stuff. And I had this realization that I spend a lot of time really kind of checked out. Like, I remember actually people used to say, I used to have whole conversations with people that I wouldn't remember, and it wasn't a brain issue. It was because I was soulfully completely checked out. I was sort of triggered and checked out, and it used to really frustrate people. I got to the point when I remember when I first met my husband like 30 some years ago, and I knew I was going to have some kind of relationship with him. I would say to him, I'm really good at having a conversation and sounding like I'm paying attention and all of that, but I might not be, and I might not remember the conversation. So if you're telling me something really important, you have to make sure you have my attention. And so that's how I was dealing with it. And so at this point, when my healing started happening, I realized what I was checking out. And I needed to learn to stay checked in through things. And it wasn't like big trauma was checking me out. It was everyday little things were checking me out. And I learned with some support to stay checked in all the time. And it would be like I would just go through a situation. I would then have this awareness, oh, I'm about to check out, instead of just, you know, blindly checking out. Let me just stay through this moment because I actually am a grown adult and I can handle this moment. And with that support, I did that. I went through all of these little moments not checking out. Now I don't even think about it. I just don't check out like that anymore because I retaught my soul to stay, to move through things that I'm fine. I have agency. I have confidence. I can move through. And it changed so much in my life and that's soul work because
Yeah.
you learn to instead of telling people I might check out, you learn to stop checking out and to handle things.
Yeah, and you know, the soul staying is to get your soul to stay, you need to build safety. And this is why I'm saying, like, fear is what manifests in people's life. And, you know, people don't necessarily walk around going, oh, I'm carrying a load of fear. Of course, some people might be saying that, but they might be saying, oh, why doesn't this person understand me? And oh my God, how am I going to manage this phase in my life? And I'm scared that you know, a symptom's going to come back, and what does that mean for me? Or I'm scared that my husband might
I think
leave,
there's
or something
also a
like
lot
that.
of behavior that we have no idea. We can't even identify that it's coming out of fear. Like I had no idea I was checking out on normal everyday stuff.
Yeah,
I think what happens a lot of times when you begin to heal is your awareness of these things, your awareness of your behavior. It's those moments when you can't go back through that door anymore because you start to see it, and the world's a different place. And so it can create um, that kind of unknown fear because suddenly you're seeing, it's like, you know, you put on these glasses and you see everything differently, and you're like, how do I survive in this world that I didn't even see was going on before?
yeah, yeah. And healing really shakes up the ground that we stand upon,
Mm-hmm.
because we redefine the world that we're living in, and then we redefine ourselves, and therefore everything we're in relationship with, which is to say everything in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
then alters, because everything is now relatable back to you, but you aren't the same person. You are no longer on steady ground.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why soul work is massively important when you're on a healing journey. This is why a healing journey is a spiritual journey, and soul work is an essential part of it that we need to be mindful of. And you know, Eileen talks about like getting the soul to stay. One thing that we talk about is soul retrieval. So going back to that story of me seeing my friends, and I'm like, it's the most like me I've felt in ages.
Which is soul
I
retrieval.
in my mind, I'm sitting there at the table like cackling with laughter, with our dark humor as we're making really inappropriate jokes about one another, and like having all this great fun. And I'm thinking, I'm having a soul retrieval because I'm a weirdo, right? And that's the kind of things that I would think. But like,
that's
it's
so
the soul. I'm getting something back that was lost, essentially.
yes,
I'm getting
yes.
something back that used to be mine. And do you know what was really interesting? Hearing my friends talk about me, like they were like, "Oh, you never needed any help." I was like, you know, and I was like, "Sorry, what do you mean?" And they were like, "Oh, you were always so in charge of your own destiny out of all of us." And like one of my friends, she is such a high flyer, and she's like, "Out of all of us, you." I was like, "Wait, what?" I thought I was just like, you know, having a laugh and just being silly. It was really interesting I was like, I didn't see myself as strong in my 20s, and what they distilled back to me about myself. I was like, that was so important for me to hear from people that knew me so well. I've been traveling around the world with one of these friends, cycling from London to Paris. Like we were in each other's pockets. We'd been through so much, boyfriends and breakups and everything together. And I was like, wow, I think I needed to hear that. I think I needed to hear that you saw something in me that I didn't feel and didn't connect with for myself.
Yeah,
So, healing will happen in really unusual ways, but soul healing needs some life to happen. And
that's right.
the thing that's hard when you're not well is that it's not very easy to access life.
That's
And
right.
then when you are entering back into the world, accessing life can feel inaccessible. It can feel intangible. It can feel like, well, I don't do that kind of thing anymore. So just finding a way to engage back into life is a very soul healing activity. What do you think to that? Or what would you say to that, Eileen?
Well, I think that's you say to somebody that you're a shamanic practitioner and you do soul retrieval, and the image that comes up is, funny wearing feathers and drumming and dancing around and making funny noises and making some special appointment. But what you described is really what soul retrieval looks like. It's getting my life back. It's feeling like yourself again, or figuring out who your new self is. And that's why it really needs the backdrop of life. And this is what our big program does: is it works with people in the backdrop of their own life. It's not like studying and taking notes and figuring something out and doing supplements. It's using your life and gaining the agency in your whole life, and having those, like, I had a very similar experience. I lived in New York City for 10 years in my 20s, and I went back there a few years ago. Maybe like 5 years ago now, with my kids and my husband. We were there for a week, and I kept serendipitously winding up like a block where a friend lived, or I'd been to a party, and I would go, oh my gosh, I'd have this memory, and I'd feel like I got this little piece of myself back. It was probably a moment when I checked out, or something little happened, and I felt like that whole week I was just grabbing pieces back of myself that I'd left in New York somewhere. And I had the most wonderful week in New York. And when I left New York, New York really kicked me out. And I felt bad because I loved living in New York. But I went back, and it's like we made up, and I got soul pieces back. Like, you need life. Life is your soul retrieval, not some weird ceremony, not cacao. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about what you did this 10-minute exercise, and she's like, yeah, that's a year's worth of therapy. I remember there's this thing we teach people to do, is talk to a rock. It's a little exercise we do.
Yeah.
And
It's a
I've done
good
it.
one.
It's so easy. It's 10 minutes, and people go, talk to a rock. What are you talking about? But I've had people do this, and the boys will like wind up sobbing, and that's not how they put it, but they worked through a grief, or they've processed something through this talking to a rock exercise. And it really soul work really isn't anything big and weird. It's really that simple. It's this process to allow the soul to process through things and have these realizations, and working with somebody who understands that is the guide. It's the guide to doing that. And if you're coming at this work, if you're waiting till that traumatized moment, till you like, you're just so in such bad shape, you just need somebody to pull you up. You can't do that kind of work in that kind of moment. That's,
Yeah.
again, people who are in that moment, traumatized moment, do need support and help, but that's a different process.
Yeah, it's about making a commitment to your soul, because like sometimes, we'll work with people and someone might come along and have a session with us, do some work with us, and then go back
Yep.
and then resurface again when life is impossible again. But you want to be working on this stuff in, yeah, it's for the impossible moments. But then if you can build a foundation, you might find that you actually manage your own impossible moments. You will find
Yeah.
it. You will find that your own impossible moments aren't impossible anymore, and that you know your way back to peace. If we can make that switch, because I really feel like
I've
we've lost the language of the soul, and that we used to
Yes.
know this. We used to know how to do this better, but it's no longer a priority. And that's just not the way we live anymore. But it should be. I think it should be, if you ask me.
Well, I'll tell you a little story that so my I hope he doesn't get mad at me, but my son in Italy, and which I told you about on the last podcast, and so he's a young man in Italy with a school group, and a couple of times he was having lunch with one of his school friends who was a girl, and they tried to split the bill, and the waiter wouldn't let them split the bill. The waiter said, "No, the man pays." And Amy and I were laughing about this because she said in Italy they still have chivalry, right? Like there's these forgotten things. And my son was like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll pay for lunch." Like there's just modernization has some great stuff in it, but sometimes we throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we've lost some of the soul pieces. We've lost some of the kindness. We've lost some of the compassion, self-compassion, and compassion for others. And it's really just, it's remembering. It's not learning something new. It's remembering you have a soul, and remembering your soul might not want you to drink because it's not so good for the soul to drink. It's not so much whether, or maybe it's because of your liver or whatever it is, but don't wait till you hit that bottom. Find the agency, and then you wind up with a different life, and back to what we were talking about in the beginning, and all of those little things that you're now doing differently because you have agency, you feel like you have agency over yourself, then that makes a difference at the end. When the body is gone and you're whatever is next, I don't know what it is, but when you've lived a life with agency, I think whatever happens to your soul next is different.
I just want to throw this in there. I don't know if it's really linked, but it pops up in my head. So it feels linked to me. Probably doesn't to everyone else. I can accept that. But there's something that I hear repeatedly in the healing community, which is, I wish I could find like-minded people. Now, community is a beautiful thing. Community, I think, is the soul healing, right? The need for like-minded people is something else. The need for like-minded people sometimes, like for me as a soul practitioner, makes me feel like there's some ground to be built under this person's feet. There's some sense of who they are needing to be worked upon, because needing to be understood
Is a wound.
Is a wound. Yeah. Being understood is a gift. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
There's a nuance. It is heavily nuanced. Like being understood is a gift. Compassion is the understanding of someone else's struggle. Needing to be understood in order to feel safe, okay, whatever it is, it sets an alarm bell off for me. So as I say, I don't really know why or how that's linked, but I wanted to say it anyway. So I
think it's a really important nuance that a lot of people deal with. Like it ties into your story, like you're going out and hanging out with friends who are drinking and living very different lives and getting a little piece of your soul back as you do it. We were hanging out with my family a little bit. I don't know if any of them listen to my podcast, but they live very different lives than us, but I love my family. And,
Oh yeah.
you know, they've got the TV on 24/7. I'd never have the TV on in my house, unless we're specifically watching a movie or something. You just little things like that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You don't want to be, here's the thing, guys, you don't want to be a soul snob.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be like like what I was saying about the psychotherapists that I
Yeah.
work with. They're like, oh, you're over there, and I'm like, no, I'm just here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not over there. That's why I always make the joke, like, oh, I know I'm a lot. I won't even drink some cacao. I'm a pain in the ass, like
Right.
because I've got this stupid integrity that I have to like hang everything upon. But it's we don't want to be a soul snob. Like
Mm-hmm.
my friends that I saw who were like knocking back the wine at really quite an impressive pace, like those guys are amazing
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing great things and they're amazing and they made me feel amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
And they
oh
don't and they
man, we
don't
do
do
not want
medical
to.
medium, and
They
right?
don't. They never will. They never
Yes,
will. And
exactly.
like, we don't want to fall into the trap of thinking, oh, that holier than thou, or those people that do those things,
Mm-hmm.
they're the special ones. No, we don't want to be soul snobs. So that's another completely, I think, unrelated.
Well,
I
that's a
just can't
subject I
link
won't
anything
go
back.
completely into now, but I love, because there was this part of the spiritual tourism that Amy and I love to talk about. Is there's this um, concept that got brought into the public spiritual world of a soul hierarchy. I just hate it, and you see it. Sometimes it's really obvious. Sometimes it's not so obvious that it's like this idea of ascension. Some souls are higher than other souls. They've ascended higher. I call BS on that. Um, you know, every soul is having a beautiful journey, and some souls, I know it looks like um, more difficult or not like a journey you want to be on, but they have every right to their journey, as well as in the same way you have a right to your journey. So yeah, I hate the sort of hierarchy stuff that comes out in soul hierarchy stuff that is hidden in a lot of spiritual ideas. I just say
Yeah.
bullshit. To me, it's
Yeah.
BS.
You go for it. You go for it, Eileen. So I guess to summarize, I think it's important that we would like you to take from this. Don't wait until like life has fallen apart. You
Mm-hmm.
have the opportunity to build. You can always build something much stronger when you're not falling apart yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are falling apart, it's still a good time to build because that's your way out. But we don't want to be in a place of crisis before we start to look at the soul. It is our responsibility to take care of the soul. It kind of is, part of the purpose of it all.
I've seen it
Really,
over
to
and
be.
over again, Amy, and I bet you have too, working with somebody, and there's just that moment where you go, there it was, they just took charge of their soul. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You see, yeah, you work with someone for
And
a
that's not
while,
the words
and
they would put it in, but I can just see it. I go, there they go. It's such
it's
a
like
good moment.
parenting.
Yeah.
You see it with your kids. You
Mm-hmm.
see it suddenly like, oh, they just took that on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has a lot to do with responsibility. And I think that's what we're saying, isn't it? Is
Mm-hmm.
that it is your responsibility to caretake your soul, to learn how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, it's not complicated. It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It might sound conceptual and out of grasp, but it's not. It's just your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the context of your own life. But that when you are feeling restless and things are struggling, or you're wanting to explore your intuition and understand things more about yourself and about the world and beyond, that's an invitation. That's not a problem. That's
Yep.
an invitation.
Yep. Exactly. And there's it's an invitation to something that I think for me, when I first started doing this, it's not obvious what it's an invitation to sometimes. Um, you go to a doctor, or you go to a guru, or you go to all of this spiritual tourism stuff. You're looking for that. What am I? You feel like you're invited to something, but you don't know what, and you're doing the searching. That's the soul searching that Anthony William talks about. We're just here to say it's really not hard. It's not a mystery. It's about gaining agency with yourself, gaining empowerment. It's in your everyday, and you're completely capable of doing it.
And I just want to call out, before we finish up, I just want to call out an unsaid thing that so many people that I work with one to one experience. I don't know. I'm going to say it anyway because I've said it, so I've got to say it now. But most people are very quietly, not even perhaps recognizing in their own consciousness yet, but most people are thinking, I think I was meant for more. I think I might be a bit special. I think I might be powerful. And if you're hearing that whisper, even if you're like not really registering it, or if you are registering it, well, give us a knock. Let us know. Like, listen to that is what I'm saying, because this is a pattern I see in people. You're hearing it for a good reason. That's coming from a special place. It's coming from your soul, guys. You know, I'm sure you've guessed that by now. But like that, I just wanted to call that out because that is something that I see over and over and over again. That's an invitation for the soul work.
And that is why we end everyone with, just remember how powerful your soul is, and don't give that power away to anybody today. We started Rewild Renew as a way to coach and empower others to heal and connect with their souls. The views and opinions you will hear on the Rewild Renew podcast are ours and are not meant to be medical advice. Please seek professional assistance if you feel you need it.